all that work, in fact 89 or rather 88, 87 minutes of it, and what was it for? The 86, 7, 8 minutes before that are rather good. However, the issue is that it doesn't have the balls to continue with the storyline. So, the plot is very interesting. It's about a fishing outpost in a desolate place called Arctic Bay. I mean, beautiful location, marvellous location. With you can see that there's no studio here with ice machines or anything like that. No, this is the real deal. You can see the breath here and all of that. And there are a group of not dissolute. They're blokes who have a hard life because they go out fishing, I presume to sell the fish, and they're cut off from the nearest village. So actually, it's more about survival, and they go out and on boats in the sea and get as much fish as they can to be able to survive. Now, that would be so much usualness if it wasn't for the owner of the outpost, who's a young widow called Eva, played by Odessa Young, with a sort of more cut glass accent. There's all kind of, oh yeah, miss, and all that kind of stuff. And the dynamic of that could be, well, there's an undercurrent of sexuality, and we're all really worried about whether or not she's going to survive this, or she could be a rod of iron type person. But no, neither of those things. Odessa Young plays this with not a prissiness, even though she sounds a little bit prissy, but Thordor Paulson, who's directed this, allows her to stand to one side of these gentlemen, but also to be part of them. She's not, as is the case with Hollywood movies a lot of the time, made to prove herself. When we come to the story, she's already proved herself. They already rely on her. She's already quietly reliable. Which is all you need, isn't it? You facilitate what we need to do. Now, I don't quite know. I suppose the Arctic outpost is a place where, in general times, when you can go elsewhere, fish are caught, or fish is caught. Fish are caught. What's the matter with you, Steve? Blimey. Fish are caught and sold, I presume, but in this winter time, when you can't go anywhere, you just need to eat them. So she's already proven herself, and they already trust her. It's interesting, isn't it? In this kind of Hollywood men versus women type, oh, I don't trust you because you're a woman. Oh, well, I'll go through some kind of test then. Don't have any of that. She works very well with the men, even though she's not part of the men. And it's defined. It's already defined. That's quite refreshing, that we don't need to explain it. It's already been defined that she has a position. The men don't question it because they have other things to think about, like how we're going to eat. And she provides them with what they need. Somewhere to stay, that's safe, that works, that's available, and they set about their daily going out on the sea, bringing the fish back, having a laugh and a joke, and drinking and eating and all of that. And she never really, she gets involved in that actually, But never at any point is there any thought about, oh, and now something might happen sexually, or, oh, something might... She doesn't appear in any way, shape or form to be a lesser person compared to these men. And at no point do we also think she's a hard case, because she's clearly not. She's not played that way by Odessa Young, which is great. And that takes balls to do that. And at no point do we also think, well, she's going to suffer. Because it's never brought up. It's great. It's not the basis of the story. This film is called The Damned. It came out in 2024. It's not the basis of this folk horror. And that is lovely. In fact, the whole thing is about, when you've seen the movie, you'll know, is about Eva and who she is and what this relationship is. Because when you say we join this in progress, you do. You join it in progress of an established order, of an established day, of an established time. And then something happens. They all note a ship getting into trouble between two rocks out in the sea, and the boat sinks. And they all know, without having to say anything really, that there is nothing they can do to save those men. That would be fine, but Eva finds a barrel of something, I presume it's grog or something of that nature, on the beach, which is washed up from the ship, and thinks there is booty on there, and that might be on the water. We should go out there and get that booty. Except that they have one ship. It is full because it's the fishing ship, and the crew they thought were dead are alive and desperate to get on that ship, which leads to them killing the crew, because they can't get on the boat. It would capsize the boat, so actually they have to do for the crew. And from that point on, something is with them. It's a folk tale. It's a spirit, a demon, something that comes when you've seen the dead. And it is about an interloper and how that affects the family. So actually, it's about the matriarch, Eva. It's about the family of men. And it's about how an interloper, a new person, breaks up that relationship and turns man against man. The Hall of Fish suddenly disappears. You have one other woman here who is someone who is she's cleaning, and she's got a job. She has a defined job. It's Helga, played very nicely actually by Siobhan Finneran, who I've never really been a fan of, but she doesn't half turn this in well. In that it's not, well, you could play her as a kind of hard case who is not as attractive as Eva, for instance. The idea of Eva is that actually she is attractive. That's something else I'll come to in a minute. But Helga isn't. She's more... She has a role. She has a domestic role. And consequently, she doesn't upset the apple cart regarding the matriarch. She can't make any kind of claim to that. Eva has the claim to that because it's her outpost. It was her husband's. She's conventionally good looking. She's younger. If we're talking about that kind of Hollywood feel, more feminine. That makes her stand out. She stands away from the men. Helga doesn't in that respect. She will suddenly go missing, as the fish go missing. But the interloper, this demon, affects the basis of all of this, affects the basis of their family. It's as if everything was on a knife edge, and when you introduce an idea, a person, a lie, a truth, into a tight-knit group, it can destroy that group. And it does. They turn on each other. They die one by one. They get killed in horrible ways. And she sees the demon, who is a man. Beautifully done, actually. You seldom see him. Generally, but he is clearly a man. He's generally in the corner. She sees him, he's sitting down, he stands up, he turns, we don't see him generally. Beautifully done. And because it's so humdrum, there's no big music or crescendos, there's no big makeup, and because there are very few colours in this, it's all washed out. He fits in beautifully. The figure in black fits in beautifully, because everybody is wearing black. Helga wears browns, Eva has a splash of colour. Not much, but a splash. And so there is a feeling of man versus woman, woman with man. Until we get to the end. I won't tell you what it is, but if you've seen the process, the technique of one of the series of Dallas, then you know what I'm talking of. It makes a mockery of the rest of the movie. It's supposed to be a big bait and switch. It's supposed to be a big reveal. It is cowardly because it doesn't continue with all the work that's been done. It subverts it. And it's a shame. Because the work that goes before that is taut and airless. You know, there is air all around them. It's airless. And beautifully drawn without drawing attention to any of the characters. You know they're distinctive. You know they have different characteristics. But at no point is anybody saying, look at me, playing this character. It's beautifully done. And Eva is played exactly right. Even though I thought when I first saw her, a bit too cut glass, isn't she? It is a technique to help us. And if you want to extrapolate this out, you can talk about people coming into society and changing people's views and turning one against another, and lies and truths, whatever they are, and people and communities turning against each other because of somebody coming into that community. I wonder what that could be about. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. It's just a folk horror romp, but I think it's more than that. Until we get to the end. And it is such a shame. They grasp defeat from the jaws of victory. And if they just had the temerity, the courage to continue what they were doing, it would have been something superb. And I would not be discounting it now. Ta-ta.